Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Red Embrace Hollywood. This time I have to leave a little warning. We will have grayed out decisions that they've picked before in this particular episode. Why? Because I was actually recording this episode before, or at least I thought I was, as I was playing this game for over 1 hour, talking to myself and the camera and the microphone, and then I realized that the recording button was not pressed. So I have to go through this part of the story again, but let's try to do it like it's our first, because you guys haven't seen this before. So in this episode we will actually go and see Mr. Heath in the swimsuit on our next mission, or at least that's what we've been told, and I cannot wait to see that. Let's do it. Swimsuits and vampires weren't exactly a common association. But here I was, rifling through my drawers, searching for the clothing I'd been given for something that, well, suited me. So wait, I was given clothing and I was also given underwear and bikinis from Charisse. She was personally picking some for me. I'm going to leave it there. Finally, I found a usable one and slipped it on under my normal clothes. With any luck, it wouldn't make me stand out too much. The clock read 11 a.m. p.m. Right? PM. Time to go, of course, the sun is down. Outside, I had to hail a cab, since Charisse's car wasn't around anywhere. The ride through LA's crowded night streets didn't take too long, luckily. Heath was probably already at the abattoir, waiting for me. The club was as loud and sultry as I remembered it. I caught the scent of vampires among the throngs of humans, lurking like sharks in deep water. We're again in the confession club, and I really wonder if our sire is there as well, kind of lurking at us from the corners. Weaving through the crowd, I glanced around for Heath, half expecting to see him dancing with or seducing someone. But there was no sign of him on the dance floor. Then I spotted him leaning in the corner, a cigarette between his lips, eyes fixated on empty space. He wouldn't betray me. He seemed so lost in thought, or maybe he was daydreaming that he didn't even notice me until I was right beside him. Oh, Vince. You finally decided to show up, I was almost afraid you'd forgotten about me. Instantly lighting up, Heath shifted closer, leaning in as if to hear me better. How could I ever forget about you? Of course I picked that one, we have to go with that. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure you can't. Slowly Heath inched forward a little further, gazing into my eyes for a long, intimate moment before finally pulling back. Well, now that you're here, I've got a little gift for you. Your golden ticket, the color is just slightly up. He handed me a small silver card that read VIP, marked beneath with a red star. That's how we're going to get into the party upstairs. I followed his gaze towards a set of stairs not too far off, guarded by two burly-looking men in sunglasses. Since you're new here, you'll be fine as you are, but I can't risk being recognized. Which means I'll be going in as a completely different person. You mean like different clothes and a wig? Not quite. Heath shook his head, pausing for a moment. Besides hypnosis, some Muscari have another unique power, called glamour. It's very hard to learn and even harder to master, but it's incredibly powerful. For a short time, from a few minutes to an hour, depending on the vampire's skill, we can take on a different appearance. Face, body, voice, hair, clothes too. It even hides your scent from other vampires. Okay. So it is kind of like vicissitude from Tzimitzi vampires in Vampire the Masquerade, although I am quite sure that particular ability doesn't change your clothes, because that would be some high-level magic. But yeah, vicissitude is enabling you to change how your face looks like, how your general skin color looks like. Remember Andre from Bloodlines 1? Yeah, that was the power of the vicissitude of Tzimitzi. Wow, can you teach me how to use it? Last time I was actually asking if is there any way to see through it, so this time I think let's try something new. He smirked faintly, brushing a hand through his hair. It's much harder to learn glamour than hypnosis, but one day I think you'll pick it up. Would it be selfish for me to say I hope you never learn it? I always prefer you the way you are. Aww, that's sweet of you. It's just the truth. I glimpsed a mischievous sparkle in his eyes before he closed them, lingering even when they reopened. Taking a long, deep breath, he cleared his throat and straightened up purposefully. Alright, let's get started. Remember, we're looking for a girl who will seem very human. Keep your eyes open for anything strange or sudden. We don't have any other clues to go on. After you change into your swimsuit, show your card to the bouncers and head up those stairs. I'll meet you there. I hope you won't keep me waiting too long. Then, pointing at me and offering a sly grin, he stepped back, turning to disappear into the crowd. I quickly went to drop off my jacket, shirt and pants at the club's coat check, leaving me in just my swimsuit. Okay, so let me just leave it here. We are downstairs in the club, there's a lot of partygoers around, and we go to the security check or the coat check and we undress and we are in our swimsuit only, and then we are walking through the club to the VIP lounge wearing nothing but our bikini or whatever we have on. Wait, we are a guy, just slippers. Great. On my way back to the stairs, different looks followed me from the dance floor. Of course they did. Some curious, some predatory. With a mixture of scents, I couldn't tell if those looks were from vampires or humans, or maybe both. When I reached the bouncers, I showed them my VIP card, and one of them nodded briskly. Come with me. I followed him up the dark staircase, unsure what to expect. I'd never been to a big Hollywood party before, but I'd read plenty of articles about their debauchery. As a newcomer though, I hoped it wouldn't be too boring, of course. At least I had Heath to guide us along. Boring would be something that Toriator would say. We emerged on the rooftop balcony surrounded by a pool, hot tub and the bar, all of it beneath the glittering moon. The air rang with peals of laughter, the light whir of the jacuzzi, the clinking of glasses, almost glamorous enough to be deafening. As I stepped a little further out onto the balcony, one of the figures in the hot tub suddenly waved, beckoning me over. A man I'd never seen before. Was that Heath? Cutesy alert! I approached the jacuzzi and he motioned for me to step in beside him, winking almost imperceptibly. It was Heath then. The hot water felt strange on my cold skin, but I didn't feel any pain or discomfort when I slid in beside him. Oh, River, who's this? This is Vince. He's a really close friend of mine, so don't tear him all apart, alright? It felt like 100 beautiful pairs of eyes suddenly flicked onto me. In that instant, I saw so many different things in their faces. Envy, scorn, lust, admiration, like beasts sizing up a new member of the pack, some ready to pounce, others simply stalking off. Hi everyone! Oh, he's just adorable! There's someone in Hollywood with a face like that and nobody's got at him yet? What the hell am I paying my people for? A tittering laughter rose from the hot tub as everyone observed me closely. How do you know him, Riva? Oh, you're not a couple, are you? Heath, or River, as they knew him, glanced towards me. Yes, we're totally dating, duh. That's right, so keep your greedy hands away from him. Playfully shaking a finger at the others, Heath reached out to tuck a little hair behind my ear. Oh, innocent little River gets up to some naughty things, I bet. Well, with a looker like Vince in his bedroom, you can't blame the guy. More laughter sprung up like the bubbles all around us, and the gazes on me suddenly seemed to grow more intense. But when I glanced over at Heath, he seemed to be silently basking in it. The pride, the lust, the greed. The essence of Hollywood, right in this little pool. Oh, River, can I ask you something about the part I'm in? You're always so good at getting into characters' heads. Of course. After the briefest moment of hesitation, he flashed one of the nearby girls a winning smile, turning to face her. The normal chatter quickly resumed. But the instant he left my side, the man next to me nudged my shoulder. So you really do have a face for the pictures, don't ya? Have you ever wanted to be a star, Vince? See your name in shining lights? I haven't really considered it before. Oh, that's good, perfect. You'll have that delicious virginal quality of someone who's not caught up in all the limelight just yet. Listen, I'll give you my number before you leave, and you've got to call me because I think I've already got a part for you. We're gonna make something special, Vince. As soon as the man, a director, flashed me a shining green, the girl beside him suddenly reached towards me. Her fingertips touched my face, which, thanks to the hot tub, was deceptively warm. Oh my god. Your skin is perfect. What do you do? Can you tell me who does your skincare and makeup? Sorry, it's a secret, wink. Wow, you're not even gonna give me a hint? I bet I could get you to spill it if we were alone, you know. As the woman sighed, batting her eyelashes in my direction, I noticed Heath watching me from nearby. He smiled when our eyes met, all but ignoring the girl chattering excitedly to him. Somehow he seemed far more in his element here than at his bar or the hotel, like all this glamour put him at ease rather than intimidating him. Vince, I never thought I'd see you here! An unfamiliar man called out to me, waving enthusiastically. That party you had the other night? That was insane! I've never seen so many lines cut up in one place! But Jesus, some crazy chick fed me some fucking ketamine while you were in the back, told me it was coke, but it was fucking scary, like I couldn't control my body. No wonder they use it as a fucking horse tranquilizer, right? Glad you enjoyed it. I'll be sure to invite you then to the next one. Can't wait, maybe stock the bar a little better next time though, huh? I think the beer was gone in like 15 minutes, and that absinthe stuff you kept talking about, that tastes like shit. Fucking body acid. He wheezed out raucous laughter, but it was quickly swallowed up by the surrounding chatter and whir of the jacuzzi jets. It was hard to tell if he'd mistaken me for someone else, or if he was just coming up with a story on the fly to impress the others. Whichever it was, no one really seemed to care. I think calling him out on the lie would be a bad choice, cause maybe he would try to cover for his ass and try to blame me for something publicly, I don't really know. As the party went on, more and more people slid over to me, asking me about my job or my tailor or any sordid gossip that I've heard. I managed to deflect all their questions easily enough, especially since no one really seemed to be listening to what I said. They were more interested in my face, or just wanted to hear their own voices. While I coasted between one-sided conversations, I tried to pinpoint the Iscari who Heath had been talking about. Surely there'd be something that would give her away, even if she was glamoured. But every partygoer seemed utterly eccentric, off in a world of their own, either due to their fame-swollen heads or the drugs swimming in their systems. It was like they existed in another universe entirely. Vampires in their own right. Hollywood parties, right? Hey, Vince. At one point, Heath drifted back to my side, leaning in close to whisper against my ear. Droplets of water clung to his eyelashes and slid down his cheeks, shining on his faintly flushed skin. Nice. I won't be able to keep up this face for much longer. Have you learned anything yet? Sorry, I haven't been able to. I wonder if she's even here. Me too. If she really is here, she hasn't said anything to give herself away yet. He rubbed the thumb thoughtfully along his bottom lip, lightly biting his finely manicured nail. Well, I'm going to talk to one last person and then we should go, even though everyone will hate to see you leave. He seemed slightly saddened by the idea, too, his eyes sparkling with a wistful gleam. Oh, but I was enjoying all the attention. Nah, I'm not going to be like that. I think they'll forget about me before long. Oh, I wouldn't be so sure about that. You're very unforgettable. He smiled at me sweetly, rubbing his shoulder for a moment before he finally pulled away to move towards someone else. Left by myself again, I had the chance to observe the partygoers without being pulled into a conversation. They really were a crowd completely removed from everyday world, and yet somehow almost painfully human. Suddenly, I noticed a gentle-looking girl by the balcony shifting uncomfortably. Her eyes seemed to be subtly shifting colors, and when she opened her mouth to whisper to the man beside her, I thought I glimpsed unusually long canines. Next moment, she quickly turned away, hurrying off towards the stairs a little too fast. Could that have been the Iskari? There was no way to be certain, but something about her was definitely different. I'd spoken to her earlier for a few minutes, and she seemed to be absolutely glowing with happiness. It was obvious that she adored being here, and everyone seemed to adore her too. What would happen if she was forced to leave it behind? The glamour was wearing off probably. Before long, Heath returned to my side, motioning that it was time to go. We left the party to a smattering of disappointed whines and flirtatious winks, their gazes following us until we were out of sight. Then we briefly parted to change back into our normal clothes, and for Heath, back into his normal skin. When we met up again in the club's main level, Heath let out an airy sigh. That wasn't the success I was hoping for, but... well, there were worse missions to be sent on. Why can every job involve us in a hot tub together? I like the little, shyly shocked face that he's always doing when I'm so bold with him. Maybe it's better to ask, do we really need an excuse to be the one together? A spark of excitement flared in his normally calm tone. It was almost as if he hadn't expected me to say such a thing. Lascivious. Oh, before I forget, I'm very curious, so I have to ask, what did you think of them, the people upstairs? The up-and-coming, the already famous, the ones who pull the strings? They were very interesting, almost alien in a way. I think my previous answer was pretty fitting. Yes, you're right. The people who handle million-dollar gigs that can make or break entire studios, entire lives, and the people whose lives get handled by them. There's something untouchable about celebrities like that. With a dreamy smile, he let his gaze drift off for a few moments. Our eyes soon met again, and I could see him hesitating about something, or maybe carefully considering his words. Oh, sorry. I'm only trying to figure out how much Charisse would yell at me if I spent the rest of the night chattering here with you. Not as much as I'd yell at you if you didn't. When you put it like that, I almost don't have a choice, do I? After a long playful sigh, he opened his mouth to speak again. Vince! Oh, is that him? Hi, Vince! A small group passing by suddenly called out my name. Cockblockers. I recognized their faces from upstairs, two of the socialities and celebrities who were in the hot tub with me. Huh? Weren't you with River? If I had someone as cute and talented as him wrapped around my finger, I would never let him out of my sight. After their dismissive gazes flitted across Heath, the girls glanced around the club, probably searching for River. Well, whatever, your loss. Come to a party with us sometime, Vince. You're fun. In between shouts and drunken laughter, the group continued past us. Heath watched them go, staring after them even once they were out of sight. You really made a dazzling impression on them, didn't you? Why did you choose River as your fake identity anyway? I think it's a good question to ask. Just a homage to someone I really admired. He had this amazing natural charm and incredible talent, a beautiful heart. But he was taken away even earlier than I was. For a moment he went silent. His smile still lingered, but his gaze seemed somewhere distant. Actually, I need to pick up something from the hotel, so why don't we head back together? He soon spoke up again, attention swiftly flicking back to me. The ride's always so lonely anyway, don't you think? It is. With the silent driver, it's pretty lonely, and the backseat is spacious. After I retrieved my clothes, we left the club and climbed into a taxi together. Eve carried on a steady stream of light conversation, flitting from topic to topic, whispering the sordid lifestyles of some of the partygoers I'd met. The more we talked, the more he almost seemed to glow with happiness, eyes rapt and attentive whenever I replied. As if everything I said had an invaluable meaning. Finally we pulled up in front of the hotel, and Heath hurried to get the door for me. But right as we stepped towards the grand entrance... Ah, hello there! Marcus, who was just leaving, came to a stop before us. Hello, Marcus. Shifting his weight slightly, Heath put on a forced smile. Good evening. Marcus' eyes roamed between us, their glow dimly flickering behind dark lenses. Hi, Marcus! Awkward. I'm glad to see the two of you are enjoying yourselves. Such pleasures are so very fleeting in this world of ours. So very, very fleeting indeed. What do you mean? What do you mean fleeting, you clairvoyant person? Marcus clicked his tongue several times, adjusting his sunglasses with an extended sigh. Well, I ought to be returning to my pleasure palace. Do take care. Without further comment, he gave us one last dry smile, tucking his hands into his pockets and sauntering away. You've watched him leave with a very guarded look. Is there something going on in between you two? No, there isn't. But you know how Marcus is, I'm sure. He fiddled idly with his hands, flicking his tongue across his bottom lip. It's a nice evening, so I think I'm going to smoke outside for a little while. But I enjoyed tonight a lot, Vince, even if it was only for a job. I hope it gave you a closer look into Hollywood. I forgot it was supposed to be a job, to be honest. Well, now that you admitted it, I guess I can too. Although most of my fun came from watching and talking to you. It's too bad I can't bring you with me on every job. Who says you can't? I don't think Charisse would like me stealing her favorite new protégé. But maybe I shouldn't let that stop me. He tilted his head away slightly, although not enough to hide his grin. Good night, Vince. Sweet dreams. As I left him, he reached for a cigarette, placing it unlit between his lips. I could feel Heath's eyes lingering on me all the way to the door, longing but distant. Even as I made my way to the elevator, returning to my shiny crypt of a room. Something about his gaze stayed with me, unbidden. After a difficult struggle, I managed to raise my heavy eyelids. The first thing I felt was hunger stirring up in my gut, gnawing me awake. Eventually, I rolled out of bed, fighting a sluggish feeling. Tonight I had to take care of that job for Charisse, but I needed to feed first. Drink from a blood bag, that's what I did before. We can also drink from a human, but... See, I know that in stats in here, we have this human-like and vampiric thing, and I think, I don't know, that's just my assumption, that maybe being human-like gives you better endings, like, you know, more positive ones. I'm not really sure. So I would assume that maybe drinking from blood packs would make us more human-like. again, that's just an assumption, just something that I think this design might be working towards, but I'm not really sure. So far, Iskari likes us a lot, by the way. Golgotha, a little bit less, Mavar, even less. We are quite determined, more than reserved, and we are more diplomatic than outspoken. Okay. That's pretty cool. I will drink from a blood bag. Grabbing a bag from the fridge, I downed it in a few gulps. Let me see if this changed the stats a bit. Is this a little bit upper than before? I'm not even sure. It was about as satisfying as a lukewarm coffee, but it sated the hunger. I pulled on my clothes and wandered outside, where the familiar sedan was patiently waiting for me. I climbed into the backseat, but as usual, the sedan driver didn't acknowledge me. Oh, okay, so we're going on a new mission, and this mission is, I believe, the one where we need to drive away some humans who are scouting on the beach currently, and they are quite close, too close to Mavar's establishment or location where they just spend time. So we need to push them away from that. As soon as I closed the door, he took off towards Santa Monica, weaving through the hectic evening traffic. My mission seemed pretty straightforward, unlike the other night's sewer crawl. Once I found the humans, I just have to scare or coax them away. By any means necessary, Charisse had said. After we pulled up by the pier, I hopped out of the car and made my way down to the beach, scanning the dunes for any mortals with cameras. Sure enough, I didn't have to search for very long. Marching down the shoreline was a group of young men holding TV equipment, eagerly shouting and pointing at various innocent beachgoers. Charisse said Randall's beach house was nearby, so I had to do something before they reached it. Aww. Santa Monica is such a nostalgic place for me. It's just... Well, I first played Bloodlines when I was 14. For those of you guys who haven't seen it, I actually made a game, like a little homage to it all. It's called Santa Monica by Night. We made it for the Vampire Game Jam, which me and my friend won, and we were super happy. I will actually link it down below. If you haven't played it, just check it out. It's free to play. And yeah, after I played Bloodlines for the first time when I was a teenager, I always wanted to go there. I've never been to States, and it's been my dream forever to go to the USA and see it in person. I knew all the stories about Los Angeles and you know, all these places being majorly fake and not that great to see in real life, and you know, a lot of tourists that've been there before told me it's not really that fun, but I was really determined to go there, and I finally did. 2 years ago, I believe, or 3 years ago, actually. I've been there twice so far, and it was everything I hoped for. It was beautiful. I went there, I had Bloodlines music on my headphones, and all these things I felt when I was a 14-year-old girl playing Bloodlines, I felt them again there. And I actually went to the pier during the sunset, and I walked this way out of it during the night towards the Venice beach, and it was just I will remember it forever. It was wonderful. After I observed the men for a short while, I decided the best way to deal with them would be to... Oh my god, it's you! Suddenly a thrilled voice cried out from behind me. I turned to see a young man rushing forward through the sands. An uncomfortably familiar young man, the one I sacked in the alley. That's the one. I can't believe it. I thought I'd never see you again. But here you are. Here I am. Just like it's destiny or something. Wow. It was the same mortal I'd fed on my second night. I have Bloodlines ghoul vibes right now. Sorry, you're mistaking me for someone else. No, there's no way I could mistake you for anyone else. You're the most beautiful guy I've ever seen. I could never forget your face even if I tried. Not that I only care about your looks or anything, it's just that you have a really cool charisma, like a movie star, you know? This didn't make any sense. Hadn't Charisse said that humans forgot everything leading up to the bite? But this human scent wasn't like any other I'd smelled. It was always sweet, different from the salty sea air or the stench of unwashed mortals nearby. Was he special somehow? Oh, I should probably introduce myself, huh? My name's David. I work with this photo crew, part of a tabloid my dad owns. He gestured towards the group in the distance, looking slightly embarrassed. I convinced them to come out here at night to look for you, actually. Okay, so I do get vibes of Bloodlines 1 Ghoul, and I remember how actually taking her in was a really bad idea. I don't want to spoil the game, but in general, in the vanilla game, without any patches or any additional unofficial stuff, it wasn't a good idea to take her in. And although it was very enticing. And in this particular case, I think it's even less enticing because he knows about vampires, it seems, and his smell is different than other vampires, so maybe it's some kind of a hunter or something. So I will go with what I did previously in here. As you see, I will try to cut myself from this guy. And I know what you will say. We want to have a goal. But I saved this game in here before. I have a save file, so we can check it out later on maybe. And in another playthrough, maybe we can actually take this guy as our own. That was a horrible idea. You're in a lot of danger. Danger? From what? Unless you mean... Oh, don't worry about that. I've always liked people who are dark and mysterious. He averted his eyes bashfully, as if hoping that would hide the pink tint on his cheeks. The other night, I woke up in the dark and it was so warm. I thought I was dead. I didn't know what had happened to me. But then, it all floated back. You were so good to me, the way you took me somewhere safe and covered me up. His voice trembled with awe and adoration. I remember I actually left him in an abandoned dentist's office, so I don't think he was cute at all. I don't really understand what you are. You said vampires before. Or what you did to me, but after that night, I can't stop thinking about you. How amazing it all was. There was a certain dazed dreaminess in his voice and eyes. He looked at me like I was his hero, a rock star or a movie star, someone larger than life. David, go home and forget any of this ever happened. No! I don't want to forget it. You don't understand how much you mean to me. Maybe it was love at first sight, or maybe it's something more. I don't care. None of that matters. All I know is that I need to be with you. I need to take what you want from me again, or else... I don't know, I might go crazy. The lingering kiss and its powers, right? It was so full of passion, almost too innocent to be real, like a snowflake before it lands on the dirt. I could barely believe it, but he really did seem completely in love with me. Or if not with me, then with the sensations I'd given him. I can't, David. I'm sorry. It's too dangerous for you. Please! I mean, please don't send me away! Panic flickered in his eyes. I can take care of myself, and I promise I'll make everything worth it. Please? No, you should go home and pretend this never happened. He looked utterly devastated, like I just shattered his life's dream into a million pieces. His eyes darted up to meet mine one last time, searching for some trace of hesitance or second-guessing. But finally, he gave a defeated exhale. As he turned around, I saw one of his hands curl lightly into a fist, but he didn't say anything. He didn't even look back at me. Instead, he plodded off towards his hollering group in the distance, head tilting back to face the moon. I watched as he rejoined the others, murmuring something to them that caused an outbreak of groans and whines. And eventually, the group began to head back the way they came, leaving the Mavar hideout safely behind. Even if David knew what I was, no one would believe him, so I wasn't worried. Still, his fanatic adoration was a little haunting, and I had to wonder if my words had even made any impact on him. I wonder if I made a good idea. Maybe he will join the Inquisition right now. I returned to the hotel, a little surprised at how easy the whole affair had been. No one had been hurt, although David's heart was probably smashed into pieces. At least it was in a poetic sense and not literally. Unlike the other night, Charisse was already sitting in the hotel meeting room. She was on the phone with someone though, and she held up a finger to keep me quiet. Yes, I'll arrange it. No, it won't be here at the Hollywood Heights. What? No human baggage, thank you. I'm sure he can look after himself for a few days. Yes, no, I really don't... Very well. Goodbye. She forcefully clamped down the receiver, letting out a disgruntled sigh. The idiot can't even deal with his own coven, as if my hands aren't full enough right now either. Everyone always needs something, without fail. Rising to her feet, Charisse strode over towards me, clearing her throat deliberately. Well, since you're back, Vince, I'll assume you took care of the problem. It was simple. You won't have to worry about them again, I think. Excellent news. It may have seemed like a trivial task, but in the encroaching digital age, hiding our presence from mortals is growing increasingly difficult. Someone is always watching. Just like Jack told us. Now, your next job involves further diplomacy, and fortunately for you, no sewers. Thank you. As always, she coasted onto my next duties in her perpetually impatient tone. You were already at the abattoir with Heath yesterday, but I'm sending you back there on a different task. Alright, what do I have to do? Charisse raised an eyebrow at me. Was she expecting a stronger reaction? The abattoir sees many rich and powerful clientele, both human and vampire, each looking to fulfill their own depraved desires. I'm sure you know how clubs are, with inhibitions lowered and desires heightened, information is always bound to flow freely. Because the abattoir is a neutral ground, just like Heath's bar, all manner of vampires are frequent visitors, thus it is very important we learn about anything they might let slip. Doesn't that defeat the whole point of a neutral ground? If all rules were perfectly obeyed in a war, then there would inevitably be far more bloodshed and drawn-out conflict. Besides, in this case, neutral simply means an agreement not to fight openly. All I need you to do is convince one of the club's managers, Alessia, to deliver regular reports to us. I heard she was the partner, the blood pet of a Mavar, so she's already aware of our political situation. What if she's already delivering reports to the Mavar? Then remind her that they scary are better patrons, and we will remember who aided us, and who stood against us when the war is over. However, keep in mind that Alessia is a very willful woman. She's highly capable for a mortal and very knowledgeable of our unique abilities. Adapt simple force would be effective, and the last thing we want is for her to end up working against us. Though as an Iscari, I'm certain you would avoid needless altercations regardless. With a deep inhale, Charisse drew herself up slightly, glancing towards the wall clock. It was a not-so-subtle hint that our meeting was about to end. I'd like you to deliver your report within the next few days, Vince. Until then, do stay out of unnecessary trouble. Leaving me with those pointed words, she made a swift exit. Even though my task that night was over, there was still plenty of time until sunrise. Marcus' earlier advice resurfaced in my mind. Maybe now was a good time to start scoping out the other vampires in LA. Go explore, of course. I slipped out of the hotel and into the cool night air. There were a few places I could visit tonight. Visit Saturnalia first. Okay, we are into Heath, obviously, so far, so I think it is only natural for us to try to go where Heath may be first and then visit other places second. And don't worry, we'll be able to visit all of these places. Deciding to pay Saturnalia a visit, I hopped into a taxi to drive downtown. A warm, nostalgic atmosphere welcomed me back inside the bar. I glanced around at the night's patrons and noticed two interesting groups standing in different spots. A cluster of younger-looking vampires by the bar, giggling and restlessly shifting in their seats. And some reserved, well-dressed Iscari murmuring in the quiet corner, looking like they didn't want to be disturbed. But there was no sign of Heath, even behind the bar. Maybe he'd taken the night off. A approach the younger group. Curious, I started wandering towards the young group of vampires nearby. As I got closer, I realized they were whispering and pointing at the man further down the bar. He was huddled off by himself, shifting uncomfortably as he nursed his drink. "Hey, are you Vince?" One of the vampires suddenly reached out to tap my arm, offering me a hopeful grin. "Could you introduce us, please?" She nodded towards the man, who was slowly shrinking further away. "Yeah, could you, please? We're from San Fran, but we've heard so much about him, and we know you're friends. We did our research." Two other vampires chimed in eagerly. I've never seen him before in my life." "Why are you acting like you don't know? I think he's just testing us or something. Come on, let's go over." The vampire who tapped my arm now started to pull me impatiently towards the man. "Oh, hello, cutie." When we stepped up beside him, the man reluctantly turned to face me. "Please, I think there's a..." Oh my god, he's talking to us! Marcus is talking to us, I think I'm gonna faint! The moment he opened his mouth, two of the vampires let out excited squeals. "Yes, I am Marcus, but it's spelled with a C, not a... Can I have your autograph, please? How do you know Vince? Did you sire him?" "Actually, we don't even... Is Vince the only one who can melt your icy exterior? Why do you keep pretending you're not Marcus? We know who you are." Before I knew it, we were surrounded by the chattering group. I didn't know the real Marcus has a fan club. They seemed completely convinced that this man, Marcus, was actually Marcus. Marcus threw at me a plaintive look, all but wailing, "Please help me," with his eyes. "Listen, everyone, I know Marcus, and this man isn't Marcus." "Oh man, we know that you guys are up to. Marcus always pulls tricks on people." "Yeah, you're not fooling us, but nice try." "Hey, don't let him slip away." Their attention shifting away from me, the Marcus fan club swarmed Marcus like flies, clearly convinced he was the real deal. They pestered him with a constant stream of questions, asking about everything from his political views to whether he thought the Beatles' White Album was better than Abbey Road. I don't think so. The quiet, fumbling replies he gave were very un-Marcus-like, but none of the vampires seemed to notice or care. Some of them shoved things into his hands to autograph, where he reluctantly etched an M followed by an ambiguous squiggle. Judging from Marcus' reactions, tonight wasn't the first time this kind of thing had happened. And from the defeated look on his face, I figured it probably wouldn't be the last. Eventually, the group started trickling off, wandering back down to the bar. They were apparently satisfied with catching a glimpse of Marcus in the wild, and I heard snippets of their delighted gushing as they walked away. Like a wilted plant, Marcus dropped back against the bar, visibly exhausted. Poor guy. You know, Los Angeles is really a charming place. I like it there. The atmosphere is fantastic. But as my luck would have it, I also share a name and house with the most infamous vampire in the city. He let out a resigned sigh, rubbing two fingers against his temple. It would be so nice to have a peaceful time at bars, enjoying my night like any other average Joe. Is that such an impossible dream? Maybe I should try going by Mark instead. After mumbling wistfully to himself for a few moments, Marcus glanced back to me, clearing his throat. "Oh well, thanks for trying to clear things up anyway. I let my friends know you're not just out to make people's lives more difficult. That should give us more points for Golgotha, if he is actually Golgotha." I think it did. I'm not sure. I'm guessing this happens pretty frequently. About once a week. It's worse with groups from outside LA like those people. He grumbled under his breath, but in the passive way of someone who wasn't up to fighting fate. From what I know, the real Marcus likes to pull pranks a lot, so every time I say I'm not Marcus, they just think I'm playing around. It's usually not that bad, just a little inconvenient, but then the other times... With a quiet, flustered cough, Marcus stared very intently into his glass. You know the kind of a shop Marcus runs, right? Well, sometimes his fans decide to give me gifts that match the store's aesthetic. I can deal with signing the occasional t-shirt, but when somebody shows a cat tail attached to a plug into my hands at the drugstore, things have gone a little too far. Maybe you should try and clear things up with the real Marcus? I've tried, but I can't get in contact with him. And you know, a part of me can't shake the suspicion that he's actually helping spread the fake identity. As Marcus shared his lamentations with me, I spotted two Mavar coming from the bathroom hall nearby. In the next moment, they froze, staring at us intently. Hey, is that? Holy crap, is that Marcus? Their eager gasps rang through the air. Lord have mercy. Like he'd just been shot from a cannon, Marcus turned and bolted for the exit, leaving his half-finished glass of blood behind. One of the Mavar ran after him, giggling delightedly. Poor Marcus, we will see. And just like that, I was left alone in the bar once more. Let's leave. I do think that the real Marcus is pulling a prank on this guy, and he's like, he probably tells his people that this is the real Marcus. I left the bar's quiet ambience, returned to the streets. Let's go to visit Marcus right now. Blood and Roses. That was actually the time when I realized last time that the recording was not going on, so this is going to be finally fresh, something I haven't seen before. It seemed like a good time to pay Marcus a visit. He did say I could stop by whenever I wanted to, after all. The only problem was I didn't know the way to his shop, so I ended up asking my driver for directions, which was only slightly mortifying. Oh, hello there. The shop I stepped into was the unholy union of a goth teenager's bedroom and Dracula's sex dungeon. Best shop. My eyes were attacked with an obscene amount of red velvet, gaudy lining, and faux Victorian furniture, but that wasn't the most striking part. That honor belonged to the whips, chains, and shockingly large accessories on display. I'm sure they are just messengers. As for the floors, they were clattered with shelves chock full of books, VCR tapes, and magazines. When they said the floors, I would think he meant the floor being covered in something sticky, you know, like in Flint's place in Bloodlines 1. I'm sure that when you wandered into the sin bin in Bloodlines 1, every surface was incredibly sticky and dirty. Like, I'm just imagining it. I imagine the smell as well. Especially the smell and the stickiness being extremely intense around Flynn himself. I couldn't even begin to count how many. It was like a pervert's library of Alexandria. Wandering into the shop's depths, I found my way over to the counter. Marcus was casually leaning against it with one elbow flipping through a magazine. Wonder what kind of a magazine. He probably just like he has all those porn magazines around, but he's actually checking the architectural magazine or maybe cats magazine for cat owners. There was no way he had noticed me, but he still didn't look up. What are you reading? The TV guide. I told you. I often prefer the guide over the real programs. You read the TV guide, why you don't even need a TV? I was doing that back in the days when I was little. I never liked watching TV, so I would just take the TV guide and I would read those short snippets about what happens in the episodes of the shows, and I knew always what was up. Marcus finally lifted his head, giving me a curious look that soon morphed into a smile. Ah, Vince, I was expecting you tonight. You were? Why? Oh, no particular reason. I say that to just about everybody who walks in, to be quite truthful. He rubbed the thumb along the magazine's cover, chuckling to himself. Well, business is rather slow, as you can see. Is there anything I can do for you? Perhaps a particular topic you want to discuss. I have many ears and all of them are yours in this very moment. I have a question about you, actually. So why do you wear those sunglasses? They're to make people feel smart when they so cleverly pick up the irony. After all, a simple fashion statement would just be too incongruous with my elusive nature. Next question. Are you allied with any of the leaders? Have you already forgotten my advice, brother? A smart man doesn't hitch a ride. Wheels break down, but the will to keep walking, never. But you do work for Charisse, don't you? I do? They never tell me these things anymore, you see. Who keeps forgetting to send the old man memorandums? Marcus clicked his tongue, quirking a brow at me. The truth of the matter is, I contribute to every side, and I assist none. Like all supposedly philanthropic causes, they hold no meaning for me. Once upon a time, I pretended to care as most people do, but no longer. It seems a little bit bitter, it seems like he has some past involved in here. His gaze drifted idly away as if the subject had somehow lost his interest. What made you decide to run a sex shop, if I can be so blatant with it? My reasoning is rather simple. The more sordid and visceral something is, the more society and its morals label it as a taboo, the more it fascinates the repressed masses. Turn on the TV or read the news and see for yourself. Rock and roll, Kennedy's assassination type, the Manson murders, Dracula, Kurt Cobain, the crucifixion most famously. He gestured towards the television screen above the counter, its picture suddenly buzzing with static. Nothing is more tantalizing than the natural instincts we are made to feel guilty for. Sex, violence, power. Myself, I find sexuality to be the most interesting and easily exploitable of mankind's desires. Okay? And so I've set up my charming little shop, which serves the dual purpose of providing modest income, while also constructing a psychological exhibit for me to study. It's also quite amusing to force the city leaders into visiting me here. Nobody can act truly high and mighty among a sea of phalluses. I love this guy. Like, okay, the prince wants to visit me, let's do it next to this shelf full of dildos. Fallacy, my god, what a missed opportunity. How old are you exactly? That's a very odd question, but let's ask that. Well, as a man of the past, the present and the future, that question is a mighty difficult one. Let's just do away with bothersome numbers and say, I am however old you believe me to be. 15! No, you are not. Why are you always so cryptic? You could just give me a straight answer. Because it is important to spread the confusion, not eliminate it. Confusion, after all, is the only thing that makes people think. He gave a short, satisfied nod. What do your Golgotha visions look like? My visions, dearest Vince, are of potential, of what might be there, of what exists in other realities, but is not yet discovered in our own. After all, we merely skim the topmost layer of existence, though on occasion a mind can look past it. He stared off into space for a long pause, collecting his thoughts before continuing. In the grand scheme of time, we've only just discovered the subatomic and distant skies. And only because these things allow themselves to be discovered by our eyes. How many other things are invisible to all our senses, to the paltry workings of science? How many things exist beyond our clumsy, self-important ideas of the metaphysical, ghosts and deities bored enough to obsess over our tiny selves? How many things are out there that we just cannot comprehend? In the centuries to come, we'll look back on ourselves like we have, time and time again, and smile at our quaint ideas. Smile at the idea of religion like we now smile at little children. Smile at the gravity like we now smile at those who thought the world flat. Smile at simple morality like we now smile at apes. Marcus let out a faint chuckle, but it sounded more wistful than mocking. My visions allow me to see these alternate futures laid upon our own, and it's always quite distressing. Good and evil weren't always what they are now, nor will they be the same in 100 years. Thus it seems folly to me as a man for all ages to chain myself to some moral rock of a century. We look back on the atrocities of earlier days and say, times were different then. But I desire to look from the future to the present, to see what we will one day consider primitive and backwards thinking, these outdated ideas we've carried past our lifetime. What are your own morals then, if you have any? Quite simple. Do as one pleases and do unto others as they've done unto you. Hedonistic. Treasure and protect those who bring you delight, but love and hate carefully, for those passions lose their meaning when tossed forth without care. He seems like he had some past in here, honestly. Like, he seems to be very distant and cold and analytic, but then there's something there that I think happened to him in the past which made him this way. I believe so. But there's one thing I will never ever abide: the abuse of innocence. Children and the childlike, the pets who are children in their own ways. He loves cats, doesn't he? There's a difference between the strong ruling and the weak, and the strong abusing those who cannot defend themselves. It is not strength, for there's nothing noble about exercising power on the defenseless. Such abusers are simply weak themselves, perpetuating the cycle they too endured, but I believe they should be discarded to build a stronger society. It's actually interesting because I'm role-playing a vampire who has a kind of similar convictions to himself. Basically, the predator type I've picked for the vampire I'm role-playing in the Vampire the Masquerade V5 right now is the Blood Leech. And the reason for him being a Blood Leech, so a vampire who drinks only from other vampires, is because he believes that drinking from humans is a very huge imbalance of power. It's like you would take an elephant and the elephant would to crush an ant. Like, there's so much difference in the powers of vampire and mortal that it seems to be unfair and unjust to drink from a human. And hence, his conviction is to not drink from humans and drink from other vampires. I think it's a quite interesting way to cling your role-played characters into humanity, I would say. He ended with a note of bitterness in his voice, staring at the carpet. Okay, we have to ask that. Do you know how vampire physiology works? Oh yes, the most lurid of questions that everybody's simply dying to know. Marcus let out a gentle sigh. We can replicate most of the human biology without too much effort, but it's not a subconscious affair, like breathing was as a mortal. Producing arousal usually requires concentration or mental attunement, the subject willing their blood to flow downwards. Same as in Masquerade, actually. Blushing is also possible, in fact, but what kind of pathetically cutesy creature would choose to blush on purpose? I would do that. It loses the entirety of its charm, so you'll almost never find a vampire so shamelessly pretentious. I would do that. Though I suppose there are exceptions. About something else. Someone else. What do you think of Heath? He's the lost boy if I have ever seen one. A circular block that can't fit into a square slot. A star child who doesn't understand our world. Alas, self-loathing is just another form of narcissism, perhaps even the most severe form. Absorbed in self-pity and misery, your thoughts always focus on your own depression. That's why his use of drugs is constant. The almost drugs! I didn't know! My boy's on drugs? Though most of them are narcotics of the bloodstream, but drugs come in many forms. Television, movies, video games, food, sleep, celebrities, music, sometimes even other people. Am I a drug to Heath? Is that what's going on in here? Is he addicted to me? Well, I better be the best drug around then. What's your relationship with Randall? He's emerging from a cocoon, struggling to free himself. Some nights I don't know which holds more terrifying potential, Randall or his followers. Each one may be but a gentle lamb, full of kind intentions and innocent desires for safety, for freedom. A person is intelligent and wise, but people so easily become a pack of animals, a hive mind, feeding off each other's fear and hatred for the enemy. That's all I can ever say. And your views on Charisse? I've always had an unusual fondness for the Red Queen. She possesses both the kindest and the cruelest heart of any vampire in Hollywood. Her protective desires clash with visions of a utopia. Though she longs to fix the broken and wounded, all she knows how to do is destroy. I will always admire the beauty of her vulnerable soul. About something else? I think that's all for now. Very well. We'll see each other again soon, I'm sure. Leaving Marcus' shop, I returned to the dark streets, and we will go to the beach house as the last little stop for tonight in the next episode, guys. This was a pretty long one, I think, almost an hour. And we've done a lot. We visited the sex shop finally. We saw Heath in the swimsuit, although it wasn't fully Heath, it was River, but he was quite sexy, wasn't he? And we discovered that our boy Heath is a drug addict, which is quite concerning the fact that we are his drug. Anyway, I will see you in the next episode, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and remember, don't get lost in the night. Good night.